Welcome to Ye Olde Battle Reps, and this time it's another fantasy battle report. Big battle this time, 3,500 points. My Ogres versus Orcs and Goblins, and I'd never actually played against Orcs and Goblins. I was very excited about this battle, and it turned out to be really awesome as well. So I will go over the armies as deployed. There'll be army lists in the video description as well, and then we'll get on with the battle. So starting with my Ogres at the bottom there, on the left hand side of the battlefield, 4 Mournfang with the Dragonhide banner and Iron Fists and full command, 3 Man-Eaters with Stubborn, Poison, braces of Ogre Pistols and extra hand weapons, 6 Ogres with full command, my level 2 using Beasts, who has my Dispel Scroll, 10 Iron Guts with Tyrant and Bruiser in there. They've got Standard Discipline, and the Tyrant has Sword of Strife, 4+ Ward, Iron Curse Icon, Heavy Armor, Enchanted Shield. I think the BSB, the BSB has a Sword of Anti-Heroes and Charm Shield. And then 5 Ogres with my level 4, who has Armor of Destiny and Fencer's Blades, and he's using Law of the Great Maw. Okay, so staying on this side of the field, we'll go over to the Orcs and Goblins at the top. I don't have my opponent's list on me, so I'll probably be off on some of the figures and some of the characters, but I'll do the best that I can. So on the left hand side, big unit of over 40 Night Goblins with spears, netters. There's some characters in there. I think there might be a Night Goblin Shaman. There's definitely a boss in there. And next to them there's a big unit of Orc Biggins with a Shaman, and I think a Black Orc character as well. Doom Diver, Boar Chariot, Bolt Thrower, and what you can't see behind them is a Rock Lobber. Then a huge unit of Black Orcs. I think there's over 30, possibly 35. There's no characters in that unit. Next to them is a big unit of Boar Boys. Not sure how many Boar Boys there are, probably at least 13 I think. There's Gorbad Ironclaw in that unit, and a Orc boss as well. Over to the right hand side of the field, back to the Ogres. You can see the level 4's unit at the bottom there, so next to them on the hill there's the Iron Blaster, then a Thunder Tusk, 5 Lead Belchers, a Stonehorn, and 3 Yetis. And finally back to the Orcs and Goblins at the top, so next to the Boar Boys, it's actually a big and Boar Boy unit, I forgot to mention. There's 5 Stone Trolls, 30 or so Night Goblins with short bows, and then just ahead of the main lines, because they've vanguarded, there's a unit of Spider Riders. I managed to roll for the first turn, and since he had War Machines I thought I might as well take it and advance up as much as I could. So on my left hand flank everyone just goes up. The Mournfang, I advanced them knowing that next turn the Night Goblins could trigger their Fanatics. Basically in this list I don't really have any chaff other than maybe the Yetis, and they're on the other side of the board. I don't have any Saber Tusks or anything, and I didn't see a way around this. I kind of thought maybe those Mournfang could weather the Fanatics and hope for some bad rolls, and then if I could get into the Night Goblins I'd probably still get through them even with only 2 Mournfang. So yeah, I'll just advance them up. On the right hand side, my Iron Blaster is just pivoted to look at his War Machines. The Lead Belchers go up just so they're in range of the Boar Boys, and you can see my Yetis have managed to get a charge off on the Spider Riders, because I think they needed a decent charge, but they got Swift Stride and the Spider Riders were quite far advanced. I think that was quite a lucky charge to get off though. Okay, so in my magic phase, I'll just go over what spells I got. I don't think I mentioned that yet. So my level 4, I got Spine Marrow, Bone Crusher, Brain Gobbler, and Troll Guts. Didn't get the Strength or Toughness boost one, unfortunately. And my level 2 took Beasts, and he got Wissons and Amber Spear, which I was quite pleased with. The only spell I got off in this phase, I got off Troll Guts, just onto the Iron Guts unit, so that to discourage War Machines from shooting at them. So shooting my Man-Eaters, I think they just took a wound off one of the War Machines, possibly the Doom Diver. Lead Belchers open up on the boar boys and kill 2. Then my Iron Blaster takes aim at his war machines, and I rolled a double misfire for the bounce, so the ball actually sticks in the ground. Iron Blasters normally being incredibly reliable, because you roll 2 artillery dice for the bounce. So that sucks. I think I ended up rolling on the misfire chart for some reason. I probably got a bit carried away. Fortunately, the Iron Blaster didn't explode. It just ended up spinning round, so it didn't really have any effect. And in combat, the end result is that the Yetis kill 4 Spider Riders, but they lose combat, flee a court, and the Spider Riders pursue into the Stonehorn. So the Yetis, I don't think they're particularly underperformed. It does suck that they don't have impact hits. There's probably a bit off more than they could chew, I think. Orcs and Goblins, turn 1. The Night Goblins do advance up and release their fanatics. One of them gets through, bounces through the Mournfang, the other 2 stop in front. And for the rest of the army, some fairly cautious advancement overall. I don't think the big uns or the chariot have moved much, if at all, and the army moves up like so. In the magic phase, I think all that happens is he gets an "here we go" off onto the big un unit. And the shooting phase, this is pretty nasty. His bolt thrower hits the level 2's unit of ogres, kills 1 ogre and leaves 1 with 1 wound left. And the Doom Diver gets a direct hit onto the Mournfang, kills 1 and does a wound to another one. I forgot to mention when I showed you the fanatics earlier, obviously one of them went through. I got really lucky. I think he only wounded once and I saved it. But now I've taken a few wounds from the Doom Diver. Rock Lobber goes for my Thunder Tusk, but it scatters away. In combat, the Spider Riders lose 4, the Stonehorn takes no wounds. The Spider Riders then lose combat, but they stick. My turn 2, I get a few charges off. I charge the Lead Belchers into the Spider Riders to help out the Stonehorn. Basically, it was looking a bit dicey. I mean, he didn't roll very well for his poison. And obviously ogres in general don't hit that well. If I missed with some of my attacks, I could be looking at a dead Stonehorn, especially as I can't stomp that unit. So I felt he really needed to be helped out there. I declared a charge against his Black Orc unit in the middle with all 3 of my central units. So I declared with the Iron Guts, the level 4's unit and the Thunder Tusk, and only my level 4 unit made it. So now that's just terrible. That unit is basically as good as dead as far as I can see. And with the Mournfang situation in front of the Night Goblins, I didn't really want them to be stuck there. I thought maybe I could shoot one of the fanatics off with the man-eaters and then try and magic the other one off, but I got a bit cocky and thought I could weather 2d6 strength 5 hits from them. I forgot actually that when you go through them it's 2d6 per fanatic, so I don't really understand why it's more deadly if you attack the fanatics than when they attack you. But yeah, I wasn't so lucky this time. I took 4d6 hits from them and I end up with 1 Mournfang left and he's got 1 wound left. In the shooting phase, my Thunder Tusk misfired, the Lead Belchers are in combat, and my Iron Blaster, I think it just rolled badly on the bounce or something and didn't do anything. In the magic phase, I managed to get off Spine Marrow onto my level 4's unit, so I was very pleased about that. So as long as they don't all die, hopefully they'll be sticking around. You can see there's a little S marker next to the unit there on the left hand side. And then in combat, the Stonehorn and the Lead Belchers kill the rest of the Spider Riders. The one yellow Spider Rider you can see there is actually a boss on a spider. He fled. I pursued him with the Stonehorn, but he got away and bounced through the trolls, and the Stonehorn stops just in front of the trolls. The pursuit with the Stonehorn actually brings him to within 8 inches of those Night Goblins, and they release their fanatics, one of whom makes it through him and does a wound. You can see I've done the wounds the wrong way round there, because on the other ones I think I've been marking how many they got left, so that should be a 5 instead of a 1. So yeah, not as bad as it looks. In this combat over here, some ridiculously swingy dice rolls. He gets tons of hits with the spears, but only gets 1 or 2 wounds. That's his wound roll there. I then fail my 2-up armor, but make my parry save. I think I make 2 5-up armor saves against a boss with a great weapon as well. But unfortunately, in the end, I either flee or I do sort of fail one armor save and die, so he doesn't survive. The main thing I'm concerned about is this combat over here though, and I actually kill quite a lot of Black Orcs. I think they select extra hand weapons, so they've only got 5-up save. I lose a few of the Ogres, but don't take any wounds on my Slaughtermaster, and because I'm stubborn, I stick. Orcs and Goblins turn 2. So on the far left you can just about see the Night Goblins have charged the front of the Man-Eaters, and the Boar Chariots got off a long charge into the flank of them as well. The big uns have advanced up. He puts the Trolls into the front of the Stonehorn as well, and advances the Night Goblin archers up. Now the Gorbad Ironclaws unit of Big and Boar Boys hasn't moved. Partly it is kind of stuck. I don't think he can get a flank charge into the Slaughtermaster's unit at that angle, but mainly he doesn't want to go through that fanatic who has drifted over in front of them, because that will do 2d6 strength 5 hits to his unit, and that could pretty much cut that unit in half quite easily. So yeah, he doesn't really want that. In the magic phase he gets off a foot of Gork. I think he wanted to target the Iron Guts. I think I've used up my Dispel Scroll by this point, but I actually get an irresistible Dispel on 2 dice. His shooting's not quite as deadly this time, and he just kills an Iron Gut, I think, and does a wound to another one. And combat results in the Man-Eaters being destroyed, and both those units reform. The combat in the middle, the Slaughtermaster's unit is completely destroyed as well, but the Slaughtermaster himself is still fine, and he's still stubborn, and he sticks. And finally over here, so I think at the start of the battle I said there was 5 stone trolls, but there were actually 6. One of them had taken a few wounds from one of those drifting fanatics early this turn, and then he just rolls pretty poorly. He only puts 2 wounds onto the Stonehorn. I take out another troll or 2, so now there's only 4 left. I think I do lose combat, and I have to make a break test on a 6, but I pass as well, so very lucky there for the Stonehorn. My turn 3. On the left hand side I charge the level 2's unit into the big uns. Maybe a bit of a suicidal charge there, but I can't really get away from the units that are surrounding me, so if I get a bit lucky, maybe get some buffs off onto them, I might be able to break through and avoid being charged by the Chariot and the Night Goblins. In the middle I put the Tyrant's unit of Iron Guts and the Thunder Tusk into the Black Orcs to help out the Slaughtermaster. And I don't charge the Lead Belchers into the Stone Trolls. I mean, I would have to go through that Fanatic. It probably would have been worth it actually. Instead I'd just sort of pivot them. I think I'm going to shoot at the Night Goblins, which is probably a terrible decision, but that's what I do. I have a really good magic phase, and I got off the 2 spells that I really needed to get off. Firstly, I cast Spine Marrow onto the Stonehorn, so he'll be stubborn this turn. And then I managed to cast the Bubble Trollgut spell with the Slaughtermaster, giving all these units in the middle a 4+ regen save. Probably a bit overkill in hindsight, but it felt pretty awesome to cast it. In shooting, I'll just kill a few of the Night Goblins with the Lead Belchers. The Iron Blaster finally does something and manages to kill the Rock Lobber. The combat against the big uns goes amazingly well, considering I don't have any buffs or anything. Looks like I lost 1 ogre and killed a lot, probably over 10 by the looks of it, of those big uns. I win combat, but he's steadfast and sticks. Basically the reason I do so well there is because he has appalling luck with his dice rolls in that combat. I think this is his hit roll, and look, he's got like 2 hits there. And he's actually hitting on 3+ as well. So yeah, it's really bad luck. And then the big combat in the centre goes pretty much as expected. The Thunder Tusk really helped here with its Always Strikes Last aura. And basically I take 1 wound on the Thunder Tusk, 1 wound on the Iron Gut unit, and in return you can see the massive pile of Black Orcs that I've killed there, and I leave only 5 left. They flee and I catch them with the Iron Gut unit and reform with the Slaughtermaster and the Thunder Tusk. And finally over here I kill another troll, I take another wound with the Stonehorn. His trolls, I think they must lose combat then, but they stick. Basically Gorbad Ironclaw gives 18-inch leadership 10 bubble, and also an 18-inch BSB reroll bubble as well, I think. So he really boosts the army to be a lot more reliable than they normally are. Orcs and Goblins turn 3. On the left hand side, the big Night Goblin unit and the Boar Chariot can get off a rear charge into my level 2's unit, so they do that. In the middle, Gorbad makes a charge with his Boar Boys into the Thunder Tusk, and then the big unit of Night Goblins flank charges the Stonehorn. So basically in the middle of the board with the Iron Guts and everything, I realised I made a big mistake. I should have pursued with the Slaughtermaster and the Thunder Tusk, and then hoped for a good roll on them to get them out of the front arc of the Boar Boys, and then reformed with the Iron Guts, because the Iron Guts can take on the Boar Boy unit, but the other units can't. And now it looks like I'm going to lose the Thunder Tusk and lose the Slaughtermaster again. And my Iron Guts look like they're out of the game at this point as well. In the magic phase, I let Sneaky Stabbing and Here We Go off onto those units that are attacking the level 2's unit, because basically I've written that unit off now. There's no way they can survive this. In combat, I managed to kill a whopping 3 Night Goblins by the looks of it. Lose a load of the Ogres, I flee, and the big uns run the Ogre unit down. The other 2 combats, Gorbad's unit leave the Thunder Tusk on like 2 wounds. It flees, they catch it and pursue into the Slaughtermaster. And then actually the Goblins kill the Stonehorn, I think. The Trolls don't even get to attack. And then they just reform like that. So this turn just feels like total annihilation, basically. Just everything just wilting. Ogres turn 4, and I do see a light at the end of the tunnel here, possibly. I managed to get a long flank charge off onto Gorbad's unit with the Iron Blaster. I reform the Iron Guts unit and turn them round. And I charge the Lead Belchers into the Night Goblins, the Night Goblin Archers. Basically, if I can kill enough to take away their Steadfast, I could hopefully break them and pursue them out of the Troll's front arc. That's the plan anyway. In Magic, I managed to cast Spine Marrow onto the Slaughtermaster again, so making him stubborn again. You can see I've left the Troll Guts markers there for some reason that I used last time. I didn't get Troll Guts off this turn. So in combat over here, the Goblins actually roll really well and kill a couple of the Ogres. The Ogres do okay. If they'd killed 1 more Night Goblin, then the Night Goblins wouldn't have been steadfast. I probably would have broken them and pursued, but it wasn't to be. I'm stuck there and I'm going to get mashed by the Trolls now. And the combat in the middle of the board goes perfectly. Basically, the Iron Blaster kills a Boar Boy, I think, or maybe a couple of Boar Boys. I challenge with the Slaughtermaster, and he accepts with Gorbad. Now Gorbad is pretty good in combat. He's got, I think, 4 strength 5 attacks, but he's got always strikes first, and obviously against Ogres he's going to be getting his rerolls. And his sword ignores armor saves and does D3 wounds. So it's pretty risky, but then again I do have a lot of wounds and I've got 4+ ward. And it turns out I think he gets a wound through, but he only rolls a 1 on the multiple wounds. I don't do anything to him, but I stick. Orcs and Goblins turn 4 now. The Boar Chariot gets off a long charge into the flank of the Iron Blaster to help out in that combat. Obviously he puts the Trolls into the flank of the Lead Belchers. His other 2 big infantry units are just a long way away from everyone, and I think they just have to reform and move a little bit. And then his 2 War Machines are pointed ominously at my Lead Belchers. This Fanatic here drifted through the Night Goblins at one point and killed a bunch more as well. I don't know if that was this turn or last turn. Magic's pretty uneventful, I haven't recorded anything for that. And in shooting, he kills, I think he kills an Iron Gut, so I think the Doom Diver hits them. And then in combat here, the trolls just completely whiff. I think they miss all their attacks or something similarly catastrophic. And basically, I don't go anywhere. I think I take a couple of wounds onto the lead belchers. I either don't lose combat or I stick. And this combat here in the challenge, nothing. I think again he's just, even with his re-rolls with Gorbad's, just really unlucky, and only gets like one wound through. And then I make my ward save. He makes way with the Orc boss down to the Iron Blaster to try and put some wounds on that, but nothing happens, I think, and the Boar Chariot doesn't do anything either. Ends up, obviously lose combat because he's got his standard and BSB and everything, and his flank charge, but my Iron Blaster sticks, and I think it needed quite a low roll to pass, so that was quite lucky, but the Slaughtermaster is the main thing and he sticks. Ogres turn 5, I get off the flank charge with my Tyrant's unit into the flank of Gorbad's unit. Now I won't actually be able to attack his unit because he's cleverly got Gorbad on the flank there in the challenge with the Slaughtermaster, so I can't get to any of his boar boys to attack them. But I've got my BSB, 2 ranks and a flank charge, so that should really help out there. In Magic, all I managed to get through is Spine Marrow onto the Iron Blaster. In the combat over here, the Trolls and the extremely depleted unit of Night Goblins now, they managed to finally beat the Lead Belchers. There's one Lead Belcher left, but he flees and they don't catch him. And in the combat over here, nothing happens in the challenge. Take a wound on the Iron Blaster, so I guess Gorbad and the Chariot lose, but they all stick. Orcs and Goblins turn 5, very short turns now because I don't have many units left. So he sends the Night Goblins down to destroy the single Lead Belcher, because obviously if it's fleeing and then you charge and touch it, it's destroyed. The Trolls just turn round to face the Iron Blaster, and his other 2 units just advance towards the big brawl in the middle. No magic to speak of and nothing to shoot at, so just onto this combat. I take a wound again onto the Slaughtermaster, because I'd taken a wound before but then I healed it from casting Spine Marrow. No wounds from anything else, but this time Gorbad's unit loses combat, but only by 2. I think he lost by 2 last time as well. So he's testing on Leadership 8 re-rollable, and he fails both times. So unfortunately, Gorbad's and his boar boys flee, and quite fittingly, the Slaughtermaster actually catches them. Pursued with the Iron Guts and the Slaughtermaster. The Iron Guts roll really bad. Slaughtermaster gets them, and he pops out the other side there at the bottom. So that is one badass Slaughtermaster, I have to say. He basically survived a suicidal charge into a massive unit of Black Orcs, and then went one-on-one versus Gorbad Ironclaw, and ended up eventually running him down. Ogres turn 6, I swift reform the Tyrant's unit and head towards the Trolls, and the idea here is that now that Gorbad's dead, the Trolls should fail their stupidity hopefully, and stumble forwards, hopefully into my unit, and even though I'll only get 1 person in combat with them, I should win and run them down. The Slaughtermaster goes onto the hill there to face towards the depleted Night Goblin unit, and I've put them on a smaller base now, and he hopefully can kill the rest of them with magic, because they've taken a lot of casualties from the Lead Belchers and that Fanatic as well. I forgot, as you can see, I forgot to turn round the Iron Blaster last combat, so I still have the Boar Chariot in the flank, unfortunately. So this Slaughtermaster in the magic phase casts Bone Crusher, which is the magic missile, it's only strength 2, casts that onto the Night Goblins. I think I 3 dice it and get an irresistible force. He rolls 2d6 for the number of hits on the Goblin unit, and gets snake eyes, so he can't kill the unit. Especially there's 3 night goblins there and 1 boss, so he only needed to kill the 3 night goblins to get the points of that unit. And after those horrendous rolls, of course he rolls a 4 on the miscast table. And of course he gets sucked into the realm of chaos, so that's the end of him. And he won't go on to perform any more amazing feats, such as basically taking on half of an orc army. But I guess he had a pretty good run. So it actually turns out he couldn't kill the night goblin unit, but he did kill one of them, which was enough to panic the unit, and they fled towards the board edge. So you never know, he might still be able to get the points for them somehow. And in the combat between the 2 chariots, it looks like I'll just take a wound, possibly. Don't do anything to him, and then I remember to reform this time as well. Orcs and Goblins, turn 6. The Night Goblin unit failed to rally, continued to flee towards the board edge, and they left the board. So the Slaughtermaster did actually succeed in doing something at the end there, at least. So the Trolls did fail their stupidity, and they did, as hoped, stumble into my Iron Gut unit. So there's nothing to shoot or magic really. I don't think anything happens in the magic phase. In the combat here you can see the Iron Blaster has finally prevailed and destroyed the Boar Chariot. I guess it looks like it's pursued there. So one thing I forgot to mention earlier, which I've just remembered, is I haven't mentioned Animosity at all. By and large, Animosity was okay, because there was a black orc in one of the units, and I think there wasn't anything spectacularly bad, although I think these night goblins with the spears did fail once or twice, and that did stop them from advancing up. I think they squabbled. So sort of towards the midpoint of the battle, these 2 units were quite a long way away from the action at the centre, and Animosity definitely didn't help there. And in the combat here you can see the Trolls have stumbled into the corner of my unit. I do win combat and they flee, but I don't catch them, and that ends the game. Ogres scored 2,315, Orcs and Goblins scored 2,381. So because we're within 100 points of each other, that's actually a draw. So really awesome result to get a draw like that, I think. A lot of back and forth in that battle, some horrendous dice rolls from my opponent, but good luck here and there for both of us as well, and really fun to play against an army I haven't played before. Learned a lot about Orcs and Goblins, and they look very fun to play. So that will do it for another battle report. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.